Good morning, folks. Hey, there is no better way to use your St. Patrick's Day meal leftovers than homemade corned beef hash. We're going to get into that right now. If you've never had homemade corned beef hash before, you're missing out. It doesn't even compare to the canned stuff. The canned stuff to me is like dog food and I hate it. When I see it on the menu at restaurants, I get excited, but most of the time it's the canned stuff. Very rarely will you find the scratch-made corned beef hash. So it's one of Kelly and my favorite meals when we have the corned beef on hand. So let's show you how to make it. So I start with hash browns, and I love keeping these hash browns on hand for a real quick breakfast. So we're going to throw probably 4 of these in here, and we'll get these frying, and as they fry we're going to break them up. So once we start waiting for this to cook, I'm going to chop some onion. So once these things start to thaw out and they start to cook, take my heat-proof spatula, one of my favorite tools, and you just start crunching these up. Now, if you don't use these hash brown patties like I have here, you can use the regular loose hash browns. That's not a problem. Or if you have leftover like baked potatoes or whatever, you could shred those up and use that. I just like keeping these on hand. So we'll continue to break these up, and then once they get golden brown, we're going to throw in about 1/4 of a chopped onion. And I have purple. I'd rather use white, but this is what I have already in the fridge, and it really doesn't matter. Now, when a restaurant does have corned beef hash and the waitress is asking me, how do you want your potatoes? I know it's going to be a bad experience because you don't serve potatoes with corned beef hash. You just have a big plate of corned beef hash, and it's got the potatoes in it. So they don't know how to make it if they're asking you how you want your potatoes. But the best way to eat corned beef hash is with a couple over easy eggs on it. So you break the eggs and all of that yolk gets down into the corned beef hash, and it's just an amazing experience. And until you've had the homemade stuff, you just don't know what you're missing. Okay, the potatoes are browning up, so we've added our onion. We're just going to stir that up, and we're going to sweat those onions just a little bit. They don't have to brown or anything, just till they turn translucent. And then we'll throw in our corned beef, and then we'll be almost done. You can see we have our leftover St. Patty's Day meal here. We don't usually have this much left over. Usually I have to cook a corned beef special to make this, but we'll save the cabbage and the potatoes for tonight's dinner with something else. But I'm going to take this corned beef, throw it on my little cutting board here, and we'll chop this up a little bit. Everything is browning nicely. The onions are starting to sweat. We're going to go ahead and add our chopped corned beef in there. The onions will continue to sweat as this cooks. And the cold corned beef will warm up, and it'll break up a little bit more too, because it was pretty much pork tender for dinner. But as it gets cold, it firms back up. So we'll heat all this up. And yes, if you have enough potatoes left over, you could just use those potatoes. Just run them through a grater and grate them up real good, and then fry them in the skillet. And those potatoes will work just fine, but we don't have enough for this meal, so I'm saving those. Now, whenever we go camping or up to deer camp, this is one of the most requested meals, and we'll usually make the corned beef special. Like if we do tri-tip one night, we'll throw in a couple corned beef briskets so we have corned beef hash the next day. So you can see our corned beef hash is done. Doesn't that look amazing? It smells amazing. If you notice, I didn't put any salt in here because the corned beef is cured with salt, so I always let people add their own salt to keep from over salting it. But you can also change up the meat to potato ratio. I like mine a little heavy on the meat because I like the flavor of it, but you can back off a little bit on you if you want. So now we're making our beautiful over easy eggs to go on top of those. Very important, don't break the yolks. If I break the yolk on my egg, I make another egg because I love that yolk. Now, the other thing I've done in the past is I make something similar to hollandaise sauce with just eggs and butter and a little bit of salt and pepper, and that's phenomenal on this too. If you don't want to just go on with the full egg thing, you can make that really wonderful with that as well. There she is. Break your egg, let that yolk go down in there like that. Yummy, yummy. We'll go give this one to Kelly. And that's pretty much it. It's not only really good, it's pretty fast too. But favorite breakfast. So I hope you really try that because you'll never think of corned beef hash any other way again. So thank you, folks. Till the next video, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty.